A lot of people like to play online role-playing games, massively multiplayer online role-playing games, for a sense of community, and that's definitely not something that you're going to get with Entropy. What is it? You never heard of it? Entropy is an open universe science fiction MMO with a strong focus on freedom, gameplay, and large-scale space combat. Da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, it's $9.99. It's a space game. You fly around, you shoot stuff, and you really don't run into anyone else. But like everything else, it must face the CHAIRQUISITION. 1 chair means nope, you don't want it. 2 chairs, not sure if 1. 3, you might want to check it out. And 4, you might want to shut up and take some money from us. But it has our categories of doom, mixed with the working, shiny and sounds, controls, and fun. But to get this party started right out of the gate, I'm just going to throw it to Pedro to mix things up.
Okay, well, for mix with the working, around here, the game seems to have this nasty habit of freezing for about half a second whenever there's anything more than the skybox on screen. And you will be seeing a lot of that skybox. We will talk. I will talk a bit more about that in the shiny and the sounds. But on the FX83, 837DE, that's the one, with the GTX 1080, it managed to hold 60, except during those half seconds whenever an asteroid or a space station would load up and the game would just freeze. Yeah, so it gets 3 chairs.
Yeah, on the AMD 1100T powered with the GTX 780 Ti, this game ran great even at UHD, which is kind of surprising for a Unity engine game. It auto-detected the resolution of my primary monitor and just fired itself up at the correct resolution. No Unity scream of nope, none of that. I was fairly impressed. And then the scene loaded and would not start until I pressed any key. I have no idea why they continually ask you to press any key. But that's my main gripe, other than the periodic stuttering that Pedro talked about. You know, it's got to be like loading some resources or something. Who knows? Hashtag Unity. 3 chairs.
And over here on the Ubuntu 1604 LTS with AMD 8150 clocked at 4 gigajoules, 8 gigs of RAM, powered by 980 displayed at UHD as well. No legitimate gripes. I experienced the herky jerks like Pedro, and normally, you know, that's when you're about to jump out or something's about to load, but sometimes it's like, fuck you, that's why, get here, have some herky jerk. And I was like, okay. But it always maintained 60 FERPs. Nothing to complain about. I mean, it was like, I really hate this game, and I could like ding it a chair, but I can't because it's going to give me so many more opportunities. So that's 4 chairs for makes with the working on my end, which leads us with 3 total. Up next, Shiny and Sounds.
Shiny and Sounds, yeah, the graphics, well, they do a passable job. The skybox, as I mentioned, is pretty. The ships, they have a little bit of detail to them. Not that you're going to be paying attention to the ship much. You're basically be trying to make shit out on screens like, oh, that's where I need to go. Right, cool. But the sounds, on the other hand, if there were sounds, because I'm not entirely sure there were, they were completely unremarkable. Also, and if, like me, you're not a native English speaker, you need to run the text in your game through a spell checker. Because that was, I think the most egregious example is in actually one of the loading screens that says, if an item has no condition or 0 condition left, it will be destoried. Not destroyed, destoried. And I kind of, while I was recording the footage you're looking at right now, I decided to play a little bit of a drinking game of spotting the mistakes whenever text showed up on screen. Had I not been drinking tea, I would have been properly sauced with that one after just 30 minutes. 2 chairs.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. This game, when I first fired it up, had me hooked for about the first 3 minutes. starts out with a great opening animation about people building AIs and AIs building smarter AIs and, humanity blossoming out into the galaxy powered by all of this great, AI computer technology. And then one day, all the AIs vanish. Civilization crumbles, and you go into kind of a, a Battlestar Galactica type scenario where all of the things that weren't networked too heavily still kind of function. And I thought that was amazing. It hooked me right in. And then you get to character creation, and character creation looks really cool. It had a green dreadlocked guy with a little Deus Ex eyepiece, and it was really cool. And then you click on take a snapshot, and that becomes your avatar, and you never see your high-res 3D model guy ever again. You get into the game, and it's pretty much your standard Wing Commander 3, X-Wing, X, Rebirth, or any of those other type games. Space sim, energy management, blah, blah, blah. But if you're going to do a first-person view in a space sim, you need to have a cockpit. All it does is move the camera to the nose of your ship. There's no cockpit. There's no joystick. There's none of that. Oh, can you say unfinished? 2 chairs.
I don't know. And definitely when you're going through these like long holes of just sitting there waiting, I'm like, no. It's like Fear and Loathing in Space Vegas, seriously. But, when you start this game off, after you initially see the character creation screen, I really thought I was going to be in for a bit of a treat because, it looks well done. Hell, most of the game looks well done. Like I just said, I was like so excited. I was like, squee. Not saying it'll win any awards for best looking, but, it's a bit of a right for an indie title. Then again, it should look nice since there's a whole lot of nope to look at. This game is devoid of it, but you're in space. Give me some fucking planets or something. It's just dead. You're just sitting there waiting, counting, going almost in real time, 2 minutes over and over and over again. I would comment, it looks pretty enough for what it is, but it just should because there's nothing there. I would kind of comment on the voice acting, but it kind of seems that they ran out of money for voice acting like mid-sentence because it shows up for a hot damn second right at the beginning. Then you're just reading the rest of the way. I guess there is a soundtrack if you kind of count that 7-second sample looped times infinity a soundtrack. But yeah, it technically looks like a game. And it makes noises, so you're definitely going to get 2 on that for Shiny and Sounds, which will give us, look at that maths, 2. But we need to get into the controls. How did it control?
Well, around here, my gripes with the controls were because they didn't work, because, let's face it, they did. My biggest gripe was actually the feedback that you get from when you hit an enemy. You get none. From when you say want to control your speed, you don't want to go at 100% thrust speed, you want to go a bit slower so you can navigate things properly. There's absolutely no way of telling just how fast you're going other than looking at the bottom of the screen, and if you're looking at the bottom of the screen, chances are you're not going to see that asteroid you're about to slam into. Not that that makes much of a difference because there is no damage from slamming into things. Unfinished. Yeah, that seems to be a recurring theme. So for me, for the controls, it gets 3 chairs.
All right, I'm an old school flight or space sim type guy. I like to play them just exclusively on the keyboard, but that is not an option in this game. You have to use your mouse to move your little targeting reticle around inside, and it's how you turn your ship, it's how you target your lasers. And it requires you to take one hand off your keyboard that, could otherwise be used for managing systems, transferring shield power from front to back, putting your engines in overdrive mode. It kills me. And there is almost no customization of any of this. If you can find the menu where it shows you the key bindings, you may be able to rebind some of it, but that mouse aim is never going to go away. Couple other gripes. There is no key to put you to 0% throttle or to 100% throttle, which, let's face it, most of the time you don't really want to go to 40% throttle. You just want to like full throttle or hit the brakes. It does kind of support some Newtonian physics, which is another big gripe of mine in space sims. Whatever direction you're traveling in, you should just keep traveling that way until you counter your momentum with your thrusters. So this game offers the option of hitting the C button, which cuts out your engines and lets you drift. But the minute you turn your engines back on, you're just heading the direction you're pointed again. There's no... I couldn't figure out how their physics worked at all. And there doesn't seem to be an option to control roll of your ship either. Usually, that would be Q and E, but not in this game. I don't even remember what half the keys were in this monstrosity anymore. So, yeah, good luck on that. By the way, the O key will open the option menu, and that'll solve a lot of your problems. Did not like controls. 2 chairs.
Okay, speaking of controls, one thing that you might notice when you're flying around, you're like, hey, man, I would like to bring up an options menu. Maybe you'll hit the escape button. Well, if you did that, you'd be wrong. Hunting and pecking. I found out that Jay brought up a journal so I could access the menu. I think you can hit the left alt key, because fuck you, that's why that'll give you your mouse, whatever. I mean, it took me a bit to figure that, just how to exit the game, because I was like, fuck, just not exit that, just alt F4, fuck that noise. Seriously, game, would it have killed you to explain some of the keyboard shortcuts during the 45-minute long tutorial? No? All right. Like I said, good thing Alt F4 worked out, since this game would have, if Alt F4 didn't close this fucking piece of shit, it would have been the first game ever in history to receive -1 chair. Outside of that fustercluck, everything controls like your standard space shooter, minus the rolling stuff empty. I immediately tried that too, and I was like, well, that's kind of bullshit if I got to do any type of combat. Gerbil for navigation and throttle. Your scroll wheel works for your throttle, keyboard for everything else. It's not laid out horribly. Mind you, everything else requires looking at the menu for the controls, since the tutorial can only be ours to give you like the most rudimentary idea of like, here's ship, here's all right, go, get out there, go have fun. So, yeah, not busted, but not really good. Yeah, 2 chairs. And if we add all that up, boom, can you do it again? 2 more chairs for the controls. Now we got the final segment. We got to figure out, did we enjoy the game? And what's coming up next might surprise you.
Or not, if you've been paying attention. Well, let's see. The biggest sin a video game can commit is being boring. This is an entertainment medium, and any critic worth their chops will tell you that if a video game is boring, they have failed on a fundamental level. And Entropy is completely fucking boring. Now, I could expand on that, but I'm not arrogant enough to the point where I don't think you, the fine folks listening and watching us, know what a boring video game is. No. I'm just going to tell you about the stuff they didn't finish and claim that they did. Let's see. The game revolves a lot around, finding derelict ships or derelict bits of crap floating around so that you can salvage. Well, if there are no players to shoot each other or the NPC ships, there is no salvage to be had. Like, none, outside of the one that's predetermined in certain places because of a given quest. Crafting. Yes, there was supposed to be a big old crafting system in this game. According to the devs and other players in the Steam forums for Entropy, the crafting system was unfinished, and it was actually put on hold while they fixed or fine-tuned other areas of the game, one of which was the combat. Well, the crafting is still unfinished. Now, the combat. Yes, the combat. You swoosh below or above the enemy, you turn around, you shoot him, then you do it again, rinse, repeat. Boring. So fucking boring. And then there are the active, unfixed exploits, which quite literally let you get unlimited money. They call them credits in this game. That's real original there. And then there's another source of exploits that keep on getting introduced into this game, which are the mods. Because the devs thought, we're going to have some local mods that people can use to, say, change how the UI looks, make certain customizations to their ships, mostly visual stuff. But people have basically figured out how to use those in order to exploit the game mechanics themselves, which, if we're talking about an MMO, this is bad. Now, this is the kind of game that almost made me consider replacing Legends of Aetherius as the most spectacular failure ever done in the Unity engine. But I can't. I can't. Legends of Aetherius is, as I mentioned, an absolutely spectacular failure. Entropy is boring, broken, unfinished, dead. And if I mentioned boring, yeah, one chair.
Well, this game, after that opening animation, I was like, oh, a 4-chair, maybe 3-chair, but 4-chair game. Space Sim, I love this. I mean, I grew up on Wing Commander and X-Wing. If I wasn't playing adventure games, it was Wing Commander and X-Wing back in the day. Except all they did was take all the pieces of Wing Commander and X-Wing and the whole X series of games, and they put them all in the game, and they didn't finish them, and they didn't integrate them, and then they were like, hey, we're not in early access anymore. The combat is, like Pedro was saying, totally boring. I actually found the best strategy was to just ram directly into the bad guy, because then they would stay in front of your targeting reticle for a little longer, and you could just keep blasting them. And since there's no collision damage, why not? One of the big mechanics here is the gravity engine, which is like your jump or whatever. So you hit a key, it takes 15 seconds to charge up while you can't move at all. All momentum has to stop before you can charge your gravity engine. And then you get to wait for 2 minutes as you fly through hyperspace, getting closer and closer to your objective. Some hundreds of millions of light years or whatever unit they were using away. And then you get there, you do the one little action that you had to, loot that thing or shoot the bad guys or whatever, and then you're off to the next 2-minute jump to the next place. Docking with space stations is really confusing. You need to follow the green dots. If you try to fly into what you think is a hangar, you're just going to crash into the walls, clip halfway through them, and get stuck. Look for the green dots. And all of this could be forgiven if this game was still in early access, but it's not in early access. It is out of early access and completely unfinished. I did not have much fun here, so 1 chair it is.
Okay. You ever get about an hour into a game and start thinking, man, hey, am I missing something here? I mean, it's been like 113 minutes, and I've done a whopping one thing that was not press F and wait. But I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. All right. You start off learning the flight and weapon basics. That's the thing. Then you nope a few baddies. This is about 30 minutes later after you've traveled around in a void of nope. And you head back to the hangar. Then they send you on a multi-part fetch quest that in real time involves like 10 plus minutes of staring at your fucking screen. That's all you're doing. At the end of that quest, grabbing the last little bit of this 3-parter, you get jumped and noped with a quickness. And that's kind of where I decided Ben Stone had put more time into this game than the fucking developers did, man. I mean, game, yeah. This is no game, son. I mean, this is at best a framework of a multimedia role-playing game type thing that has been abandoned since April of last year, and not surprisingly, the player base abandoned it long before that. I'm almost positive that the 3 of us were the ones who played it this entire week, because I looked at the Steam charts after I finished playing it, I believe on Thursday for a bit. There was like 1 player that week, and I was like, that was me. Pushing this out as a finished piece of kit is kind of just beyond my personal comprehension. That's saying a lot. And if you look at it, the game does have 1 achievement. Yeah. 1. Surprisingly, it's not for refunding the game within the first 10 minutes of gameplay. So, if you haven't guessed it by now, that's 1 chair for fun, which equals 1 chair for All of us. So, you know what? Somehow, if we tally this up, it equals 2 chairs. But I think that's a bit generous, lads.
Yeah, it's kind of skirted off on the fact that it technically works with minimal issues. I guess that's the reason why that's exactly the reason why it rounded up to 2 chairs. But here's the thing. They have a lot of ideas that they wanted to implement in this game, and the biggest problem was that they never finished them. They even they had a couple of, I'm going to call them Easter eggs. There's a alien lady with 3 breasts dancing in a pod in a bar. If you go into one of the bar space stations, you can see her dancing on the top right of the screen. And it's, okay, I get the Total Recall reference, but there's nothing else to this game. There's really nothing. And this was supposed to be a massively multiplayer online game. No one's playing it. That's bad.
Yeah, this game took me from the mountain of elevation to the valley of desolation over the course of the hour or so that I spent before I was just like, no more. It has the pieces. That opening animation, and then you get in and you've got these cool detailed spaceships and you generate a cool avatar for yourself, and it started out strong and then just went off a cliff. And I'm going to say final score of 2 chairs with an asterisk of, mathematical outlier.
Right.
Do not want.
Yeah, this one just skirted by. It's definitely a really like a 2 chair with an asteroid. Maybe it's a 1 chair with an asteroid. I mean, technicality got this one through. But hey, if you watch the review, I don't think you're out rushing to buy it now, are you?
Nope.
You're like, no, but it says 2, so that might 2 basically means the fucking thing cuts on. So that is, we got a lot of 2 chair games because a lot of them technically cut on. Really, this was basically kind of a joke review because the only reason I wanted to do this game is so I could increase the value of my Steam account by adding a soon-to-be removed game from the Steam library. But the one thing I will say, this game will make you long for the glory days of playing a functional, complete game like Curse of the Raven's Cry. Seriously. Take some of that